Hey everybody, I bought a new stock in my portfolio for the first time in several months this past week, and it's one that I've talked about a few times. It is Starbucks, ticker symbol SBUX. I'm going to dive into that. Tyler's going to try to tell me why he's a little more cautious than I am. Not that I disagree with him. Before we dive in, please take a minute and check out the link you see on your screen, fool.com/Frankel. Get the top 10 stocks to buy right now from the Motley Fool. It's the best way to support this work we're doing on YouTube. Again, that is fool.com/Frankel. So, Tyler, let me just take us through the numbers real quick and then kind of talk about your reservations. So, the numbers didn't look great. In the first quarter, Starbucks same store sales, that's a kind of a tongue twister, we're down by 4% year over year. Traffic to the stores, which to me I care about a little bit more, is down 6% year over year. And in the U.S., it was similar. It's not just that it was. I mean, their China business was weak, but it's not just that it was geographically concentrated. In the U.S., same store sales were down 3%. Traffic was down 7%. They badly missed estimates on both the top and bottom lines. The stock sold off. It was down 17%, as last I checked since the report came out. And they also reduced their guidance. Now they expect low single digit revenue growth for 2024. It was a 7 to 10% range they were expecting. Now they're expecting flat earnings. They're expecting flat same store sales. And if I'm being honest, the CEO did not have me convinced in the TV interviews he's done afterwards. In the press release, he said that this quarter did not meet our expectations, clearly. And some of the areas that he's choosing to name as potential ways to turn this around aren't too convincing. One is to target people who are not members of the loyalty program. I don't know if you're aware, but if you're not a member of the Starbucks Rewards program, you can't order through the app, for example. So it kind of creates a barrier to people who just occasionally are like, hey, I want a chai tea latte or something to that effect. Um, he wants to meet, quote, overnight demand, which I'm skeptical about because I haven't found myself saying I want a nice caramel macchiato at 2 in the morning. Um, but apparently there is demand for things like that. Maybe when I was in college, I would have wanted something like that. Um, and he said they're impressed with some of the rollouts for their seasonal drinks, specifically the lavender line of drinks, which I tried one. I'm not a giant fan, if I'm being honest. I'm a creature of habit. I have like 3 different Starbucks drinks I'll get, and I don't really venture into the seasonals. Maybe a pumpkin spice latte every year. But the lavender rollout supposedly was really good, so they kind of want to double down on that and create kind of a new permanent line. So these all seem like kind of really incremental um, potential revenue boosts. So before I dive into why I just bought the stock with numbers like that, Tyler, what are your kind of reservations about Starbucks right now?
Sure. I don't have a position in it, and I'm not. This is more like an exercise in, okay, well, why is this wrong, right? Sometimes you just kind of have to play both sides to make an investment case, and this is the case I'm going to make for this. And this isn't necessarily like anything in the numbers or anything like that, but it comes down to a little management basically, and kind of how the past several years have gone related to you know who's at the top, and kind of what that says about the corporate culture, and kind of maybe some of the other effects of this business. This The current CEO is Howard Schultz's third named successor. So Howard Schultz has tried to step down 3 times now and hand it over to somebody else. The previous two more or less fell flat on their face. And like as you mentioned, we saw a recent interview with the CEO after this most recent quarterly report, and to be honest, it sounded like a McKinsey Consulting large language generator, or a chatbot, basically responding to questions with a lot of corporate industry speak and whatever, and not really sounding like they had a firm grasp on what was ailing the company relative to some of its competitors. Mentioning things like Dutch Brothers and some of its other major competitors. to actually taking share and not seeing the weakness that Starbucks said it was seeing. So, and this is kind of where it gets at to me, is where it is Howard Schultz the only person that can run this business successfully? And if that is indeed the case, uh, it says something about the corporate culture and like how this business is going to run forever. Like Howard Schultz can't be around forever. Like we're all human, right? And if unless he if somebody else cannot take the reins from this business and create some sort of corporate culture that allows it to thrive in any sort of environment, kind of that Warren Buffett, can a ham sandwich run this business? And it doesn't seem to be the case here. And to me, it seems like more than anything, it's an indictment on corporate culture, the ability of management to bring up management, executive training, bringing people up the ranks that kind of almost in like a forged in the fire. Like Starbucks seems to me like the company that the successor should have been somebody that started as a barista in 1997 and worked his way up the ranks for 25 years and has seen every element of this business. But that hasn't necessarily been the case. It seems we get passed on to these successors who just can't quite crack it. And if I'm going to put my money towards something, unless there is true signs that a Schultz successor or somebody other than Schultz can actually produce good results with this business, I don't really see the incentive to want to invest in this company. It's not like I'm going to short it, but there's lots of other companies out there, and this is enough reason to kind of stay away.
Yeah, see, I hear you in the sense that, Starbucks has tens of thousands of employees. They haven't had someone who's like really come up through the ranks and could really run this business. I loved investing in CEOs like that. Mary Barra at GM is a great example of someone who really just came up through the ranks, knows everything about the business, and is, just from day one, like knows the job and knows what they're doing. Um, the CEO issue is my biggest reservation too. Like I said, it doesn't sound like they really have much of a great cohesive plan right now. Um, on the other hand, I'll just give a quick bull argument. I I think the numbers I mentioned, the same store sales decline, traffic, consumer traffic down, I feel like those are more temporary headwinds. Um, Essentially, Starbucks sells a luxury product. They do. No one needs a $6 cup of coffee. They sell a luxury product at a time when people are cutting back on non-essential expenses. So it's to be expected to see numbers like this. The fact that the Wall Street consensus was expecting same store sales to increase, kind of tells me that Wall Street's failing at reading the consumer more than anything else. Um, Supply chain costs are getting noticeably better. That's a long term tailwind that should kind of take a few more years to really fully play out. Starbucks has the highest dividend yield it's had in since the COVID dip in 2020, and the best valuation since then as well. So I'm willing to give it a couple quarters to see how this plays out. The current CEO is still very, pretty new at the role. Like you mentioned, it's not the first time that Howard Schultz has tried to back away. So I'm willing to give it a few quarters and see where it goes. Um, it's a company that I've always wanted to own just because it is a great product and great economics to the business. The fact that they, built this business convincing people to pay $5 or $6 for a cup of coffee is pretty impressive. So I'm willing to let it play out for a little bit and see where it goes. But let me know what you think. I'd love to hear comments. I'll do my best to address them individually. And if you have comments for Tyler, I will do my best to relay them to him so you can get answers as well. Thanks for listening. I want to thank The Motley Fool for sponsoring this video. The Motley Fool is a company that provides investing insight and stock recommendations for investors of all skill sets and risk levels. You all know how much I love researching new stocks and trying to find the next best investment, so I'm proud to partner with The Motley Fool to bring you 10 stock picks from their popular product, Stock Advisor. Stock Advisor has beaten the market by more than 4 times, so go to fool.com/Frankel to get your 10 stock picks now. The Motley Fool Stock Advisor returns are 650% as of April 16th, 2024, and are measured against the S&P 500 returns of 148% as of April 16th, 2024.